travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. So, today's episode is about a glyph called Demonia. Justice doesn't always come in the form of a hero. Sometimes it comes in fangs, stitches, and the lingering scent of guilt. That's what I learned the night I met Demonia. It was in the ruins of Hollowvale Courthouse, deep in the Redfin district, a place where the walls still echo with unfinished verdicts and screams that never made it to justice. I was tracking strange energy spikes that pulsed like a heartbeat underground. Orbit could barely stay calm, and my compass spun like it was trapped in a lie. Then the air went still, too still. That's when the mist bled in thick, red and slow like spilled wine. It coiled between broken benches and scorched flags, and from the center of it all he rose, Demonia. A tall, pale glyph with two black horns curling from his skull, one of them broken at the tip, as if snapped off in a fight. His face bore a huge stitch across its forehead, and another smaller one on his cheek, like he had been sewn back together after a brutal death. His neck, wrist, collarbone, waist, and ankles were all wrapped in tight black stitches, like a patchwork memory. His eyes glowed with crimson fury, and two long vampire fangs gleamed beneath a solemn, blood-stained grin. His simple black shirt and pants were soaked at the edges as if they'd never dried. He didn't speak. He just appeared and judged. A whisper filled my head, not from him, but from the glyph light itself. Born from justice, formed in innocent blood, until truth is found, Demonia hunts. He wasn't hurting me, he wasn't hunting me, or hunting a lie, and yet he attacked. Not out of rage, out of instinct. I was an intruder in the court, where his creator was wrongly condemned. He moved like a revenant, dodging the unnatural speed. His claws dragged symbols into the floor. They weren't runes, they were names. Names of the guilty, names of the corrupt, names of those who framed the man whose blood gave birth to Demonia. I realized then, this wasn't a monster. This was vengeance made flesh. But vengeance left unchecked becomes its own kind of curse. I had to stop him, not to destroy him, but to redirect him. I opened my field journal mid-battle. Blood on my glove from a scratch he'd given me. I dripped my finger on it and wrote one name, Stella Ferris, witness to the truth. He stopped, looked at the name. His stitched chest rose and fell like something long buried and had stirred. He approached. I didn't move. He reached out a clawed hand and placed it on my journal. That was all it took. He let me bind him, not in chains, but in promise. Now Demonia walks with me, beside me, a glyph of blood and memory, not tamed but respected. He only speaks when a lie is nearby, and sometimes I catch him whispering old court records in his sleep. He's not a villain. He's a verdict that never got to land. After the courthouse, I needed answers, or at least someone who might have a guess that didn't come wrapped in riddles and bleeding mist. So I went to the only person who could give me that, Professor Orion. I didn't expect a warm welcome. I definitely didn't expect him to open the door before I even knocked. Coat half buttoned, chalk dust on his sleeves, and the permanent scowl already forming beneath his star-scattered eyebrows. "You brought another one," he barked before I could speak. Behind me, Demonia lingered at the tree line, crimson eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He didn't growl, he didn't move. But that didn't stop Orion from huffing like I'd brought home a ticking bomb wrapped in fangs and tragedy. "I told you," Orion snapped, voice rising. "We don't collect cursed artifacts like stray pets. You're supposed to study them, not bond with them." "He's not cursed," I said. "He had blood on his teeth." "He's not eating people." "Oh, fantastic. Then let me just lower the wands and invite him in for tea." I had to physically block the doorway when Orion tried to slam it in my face. "Professor, listen. He's not attacking, he's mourning. His creator was framed and executed in Hollowville. This glyph formed out of the blood left behind. I saw the names he carved into the floor, every single one of them corrupt. He's not hunting people. He's hunting lies. That made Orion freeze just for a moment. He speaks. Only when there's a lie nearby, I said, casting a glance back at Demonia. Orion scowled even deeper, so I suppose he'll be screaming when he walks into this house. I didn't laugh, but Orabeak let out a wheezing chuckle from my shoulder. Finally, after a very long sigh, Orion let me in, on the condition that Demonia stayed outside in the outer glyph circle, sorry. And even then, Orion spent the whole time pacing like he was deciding between yelling at me or writing a dissertation about why everything I do is a cosmic hazard. Still, after I explained the courthouse, the compass spinning, the whispers from the glyph light, and the battle, we got what we needed. Orion adjusted his glasses, fuming, muttering to himself, and then slamming a thick rune-burned book onto the table. This, he said, stabbing a finger at the page, is a category almost no one talks about. Mimic glyphs, born from trauma, fueled by moral imbalance. They don't serve order or chaos. They serve a single memory. A memory too wrong to fade. He looked up at me, eyes burning like twin eclipses. You realize what you've done, Stellaferis. You didn't just meet a glyph. You've activated a branch of the archive I thought we've sealed. I frowned. That's bad? Oh, cataclysmically bad, he said, then paused, and academically thrilling. He turned toward the window where Demonia still stood motionless in the rain. They used to call these judgment glyphs during the fractured wars, he muttered, and they only ever appeared when the world was about to confess something terrible. I didn't know what that meant, not fully. But the way Orion's hands tightened on the edge of the table made my stomach twist. Keep him close, he said at last. But for the Vel's sake, Stellaferis, don't bring him near the sanctuary, not yet. I nodded, but in my gut, I already knew Demonia had more work to do, and so did I. I left Orion's observatory with a half-burned map, a warning I didn't intend to follow, and a glyph who walked like every step pulled at old stitches in time. Demonia didn't ask where we were going next. He just followed quietly, like vengeance waiting for permission. I didn't bring him to my sanctuary, not directly. But I also didn't leave him out in the cold. There's a place I go when I need to think, a half-collapsed train car on the edge of the verdant expanse, rested on the outside, full of salvaged cushions and memory moss on the inside. It smells like iron and lavender, safe enough for a monster that doesn't sleep. He didn't sit. He stood at the door all night, eyes scanning the horizon, claws twitching whenever the wind carried a scent he didn't trust. I watched from inside, filled journal in hand, ink pulling into every line I hadn't figured out yet. It wasn't until the third hour of silence that he spoke. One word, a name. Tasselgrave. I sat up straight. That name was buried deep. One of the corrupted magistrates from Hollowville. Official records said he'd vanished after the courthouse burned. No body, no trial. No justice. I flipped through the records I stole / borrowed from Orion's archive. There it was, Tasselgrave, guilty of stealing false confessions, of destroying lives to protect one man's lie. Demonia didn't need to say anything more. He'd found the next thread. We tracked the name to the southern wetlands, Ditchmire Hollow, a sunken village that only surfaces during low tides and ghost festivals. Most believe it's cursed. Locals won't even say the name, but if Tasselgrave had gone to ground, that's where he would have rotted. We arrived just as the fog curled in, white this time, not red, silent, waiting. Orabeak refused to go further than the tree line. Demonia didn't hesitate, neither did I. The walk through Ditchmire felt like stepping into someone's forgotten confession. Every wall leaned the wrong way, doors opened into swamps, lanterns flickered even when unlit. And at the heart of it all, we found a shack, bones hanging from the rafters like chimes. That's where the truth uncoiled, but not in the way I expected. The glyph light in my journal flared, red as we crossed the threshold, and then flickered violet. Two truths, one twisted. Inside we found Tasselgrave, or what was left of him, strung from the rafters by living ink, his eyes hollow, his mouth sewn shut with red thread that pulsed like it had a heartbeat. And painted across the back wall, written in clawed letters I recognized too well, I lied to escape, I lied to survive. Demonia didn't attack. He fell to his knees, not in grief, in fury. He had been forged to hunt lies, but this was something worse. A guilty man who regretted nothing. And for the first time since the courthouse, I saw Demonia change. His stitched body tensed, and new glyphs formed beneath his skin. Names I hadn't seen before, names I didn't recognize. The list was growing, the web was bigger, and someone was still pulling strings from the dark. I should have turned back. I should have dragged Demonia out of that shack and burned the place to ash. But something in that ink, something in that air held me in place. The glyph light was flickering wildly now. Not just red or violet, but a shifting spectrum I'd never seen before. Like it could decide what truth it was reading, or what kind of monster it was sensing. Demonia stayed motionless, claws sunk deep into the rotting floorboards, chest rising like he was trying to breathe through stitched lungs. Then I heard it, a voice, not his, not mine. It whispered from behind the walls, wet and slow, like ink dripping from a cracked quill. He was only the vessel, not the verdict. The ink on the wall began to crawl. It slithered, coiled, shaped itself into eyes, dozens of them, each one blinking in slow, unnatural unison. The ink hanging from the rafters pulsed, tightening around the Tasselgrave's corpse, as if reacting to the presence of judgment. That's when I realized Tasselgrave hadn't hidden here. He'd been kept. Demonia stood, his jaw tightening. I could see the inner war behind his glowing eyes, the urge to rip this place apart, fighting against something deeper, something older. I stepped forward, voice low. Demonia, what is this? He didn't answer me. He answered it. Name it, he growled, each syllable shaking the shack. Or burn. Or burn. The voice came out again, this time clearer. It didn't echo in the room, it echoed in me. The Liekeeper does not burn, it stains. Suddenly, ink burst from the cracks in the walls like a tidal wave. I barely raised a barrier in time. Orabeak cried out from outside the tree line, exploding with movement. The ink didn't just attack. The ink, It tried to rewrite us. My vision blurred, my limbs felt heavy, like they didn't remember being mine. The glyph light flared, white hot on my chest, and Demonia stepped in front of me, absorbed the brunt of the corruption. That's when I saw the ink trying to rewrite his name, trying to unmake him. Demonia roared, not with anger, but defiance, and drove his claws into the floor again, carving one word that made the entire shack tremble. Truth. The ink reeled, the eyes blinked out, and the whisper went still. The entire swamp exhaled, then silence. Tasselgrave's body slumped, and the thread snapping. The ink drained into the soil. It had never been there, but we both knew better. Something ancient had taken root in Ditchmire. Something that feeds on injustice. Yes, but more than that. It reshapes it. I helped Demonia to his feet. His stitches glowed dimly now, scarlet fading into faint violet. The names etched across his arm had stopped growing for now, but I knew what I saw. The Liekeeper. A being that alters memory, warps history, and reshapes truth to fit a darker narrative. And worse, it knows we're hunting it now. But that doesn't matter, because we'll be fine in our sanctuary. I can now take Demonia back to my sanctuary, and that's exactly what I did that day. I told Professor Orion I wouldn't bring him back to the sanctuary, and I meant it at the time. But after Ditchmire, after the Liekeeper, I couldn't leave Demonia out in the wild, not when the thing we were chasing could erase truth like they were lies on a chalkboard. Not when his very existence made him a target. So I brought him home, not through the front gate, not through the sky bridge or the storm mirror. I led him in through the river glass cavern, the old tunnel beneath the east cliffs, the one no one uses anymore, mossy, cracked, but still laced with my sigil, a path that only answers to my blood. As soon as we stepped inside, the sanctuary responded. Glyph light trembled along the walls, vines shifted, and the air grew heavy with old whispers. The wards didn't recognize him, not fully, neither did the others. Zena was the first to notice. She met me at the base of the stairs, arms crossed, Ignazura prowling behind her in a sapphire silence. That thing is stitched together with curses, she snapped, eyes narrowing. And you brought him here? He's not a curse, I said. He's a judgment. And judgment has claws. Before I could answer, Demonia stepped forward, not aggressively, but deliberately, his crimson eyes locked with hers. He spoke just one sentence. I protect what she believes in. Zena didn't flinch, but I saw her expression shift just a flicker. Maybe it was the way he said it. Maybe it was because in that moment she realized the thing at my side wasn't just another glyph. He was part of my path now. Luna was quieter about it. She waited in the garden near the moon lilies, eyes on Myrno, who had already sensed something off. I didn't try to explain myself. I just sat beside her and let the silence stretch. She finally broke with a sigh. You're not just collecting strays anymore, Stell. You're building something. I didn't answer because I didn't know what I was building, only that I had to. Later that night, I gave Demonia a room, not a cell, not a chamber with chains or runes, a room with a view of the northern sky and a shelf for my extra-filled journals. I left a black candle burning in the corner. He stood there for a long time, just watching the candle flicker, as if he wasn't used to stillness, as if peace made him suspicious. He hadn't spoke much since, but I've seen him walk the halls after midnight, silent, searching for not danger, not lies, but something more. He brushed his claws along the walls sometimes, almost gently, and more than once I've caught him whispering the names carved into his skin softly like a prayer. And just last night, I woke up to find him sitting outside my door, watching, guarding. Judgment, I've learned, doesn't sleep, but sometimes it learns to rest. And that's all we really need, sometimes. I mean, come on. One night, I even woke up to the rustle of stitches and the soft creak of my bed sheets. Demonia didn't say a word. He just crawled in beside me, slow and careful, like someone who'd never been allowed warmth. His body was cold, stitched, and still, but he didn't need heat, just presence. I didn't move, didn't speak. I just let him rest. For once, judgment wasn't hunting. It was healing. And that, my friends, is the episode for this week of the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. And I will see you next time. May the stars of Nibiru shine their beautiful light down onto you. See you next time.